What's up, friends? We're here with the training for the Daily Growth Map 7-Day Challenge. So if you've seen other videos, this is the free program to help you affect lasting change in your life in just 3 minutes per night. Now, the first question to overcome is this really free? Yes. This is not some bullshit marketing that is aimed at trying to get you to buy something in order to get real value. The program that you get, that you've downloaded, that you already have access to, it gives you a PDF with this, is the exact replica of the program that I did that helped me drive all of those changes that you've seen, losing all that weight, quitting drinking, saving $1 million, et cetera, et cetera. You've probably seen all that. I'm not going to go too deep into that. It's about how to take action and manifest a new identity. The next question I get is, why is this free? How do you make money? Well, I actually have a real career, so I'm not doing the Daily Growth Map to make money. Now, I do have a paid program, and do I like money? Fuck yeah. Do I want you to buy the paid program? Fuck yeah, why not? If, and only if, this program resonates with you and you want to go deeper on painting a masterpiece, building identity, and reframing positive beliefs. And in that program, each section does have a QR code that links directly to an entire depth program. I go a lot into my plant medicine journeys and other things there too. We'll leave it at that, but the main reason why I personally want people to buy the program is because for every copy sold, I plant a tree. And so for folks who don't know me, there's a big theme of planting trees in my life. I also have a children's book, Captain Hoots, where he plants trees. So this is something that's just near and dear to me. And what better way to manifest the new version of yourself than knowing there's a tree planted for you? But that's pretty much it on the paid part. Now, I'm going to be throwing around the word manifestation a lot. And that can seem somewhat familiar to some people, but mainly foreign to other people because of all the associations with it. And I want to be very clear here that when I'm talking about manifestation, I'm not talking about manifesting objects. I'm talking about manifesting identity. So this is your character, this is your being, this is who's deserving of maybe some of those physical objects. And this might seem a bit woo, but it's really not, because you're already a manifester. You're already manifesting this reality around you, right? And we all are. And so this is actually just tuning you in as to how to take more aligned action. So I'm big on taking action. This is action-oriented manifestation. This is not based on a bunch of affirmations and writing, journaling of the same thing again and again and again, or holding crystals or doing any of that stuff. No offense to folks who do that. It's just not really my thing. I'm big on belief, I'm big on action, and I'm big on identity. And so when I talk about identity, I want to make sure that we're not confusing that just with mindset, because changing your mindset alone, well, one, is almost impossible without changing an identity, but changing your mindset alone is not enough. It takes the mind, it takes the heart, because the two have coherence, and it really takes your whole being and your whole body. And so you'll see this logo floating around a lot, which is actually my tattoo, Shisharka. And that's the mind, the pineal gland, the heart, and the body. And I believe in this so much that it's tattooed on my arms. So call me crazy, but this lasting change in my life really has been impactful. I mean, I am untrapped from things that I thought that I was trapped in life before. And so that's why this program is free. Get your journal. We're about to jump into the screen now. All right, so I've switched over here and I've tried to make my face as small as possible over on this left nav so that I'm not in the way of the content. I'm sure folks don't care about seeing me or not. Using Excalidraw, love this software. If you don't use it yet, it's also free, or at least some version of it is, not this version, but really cool. But I'm just zooming in and out. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to catch up with focus, so follow with me. So this is our one-on-one. This is going to take probably about 10 minutes to get through. Just the meat, and then you can be done with it. I'm going to keep going on though on specific examples. So what we're going to do real quick before just jumping in is I'm going to talk about feelings. We're going to talk about feelings because feelings are at the root of manifestation. And we're going to go through the framework that I built here. This is called the asking framework, right? And then there's the one affirmation that I talk about, the principles, and then we're going to go into the actual journal itself. And before I go through all the different examples, we're going to talk about career. We're going to talk about quitting drinking. This works for any substance. We're going to talk about eating and nutrition. We're going to talk about working out. We're going to talk about dating with intention and family relationships. These are the primary things that I've focused on that I have good examples for. Can talk about other ones too. Full program, I already explained a little bit about that, but that's an example of what it looks like. And we'll talk about that towards the end. Okay, so cool. So for folks who haven't caught this, Feeling is a Secret is the book that I read, and I'm going to include a free version of that too because it's open domain, and I highly suggest everybody listen to it, read it. It's a bit abstract, but this is where Neville Goddard explains this gateway to your subconscious. And what really happens is that if you're able to feel deeply the outcome that you want as if you already have it, this is like a shortcut for the nervous system, right? Because this involves your whole body. So when I talk about, it's not just the head, it's the head, it's the heart, it's your whole body, it's your whole being, right? And so if you feel deeply, which is very hard to know how to do if you haven't been really like nurtured with feelings, and that's why the framework exists, then your conscious and your subconscious mind are able to use that feeling, and they're able to help you create a reality. And so then that mental reality essentially becomes your identity. And then that helps you attract these things into you. And so, again, like focusing too much on the specificity of something like a physical object, like I always joke about the Lamborghini bros, like the Lambo bros, like a Lamborghini. It's like, well, what is the outcome of that you really want? It's not that you actually really care about the car, I think. I don't know. That's not my thing. But anyway, the outcomes that I wanted, not to go too deep into it, were getting in shape, quitting drinking, getting this poison out of my life, getting over my fear of looking stupid and being comfortable without alcohol. And I had a lot of problems with my relationship with my parents, and then other things like just spending money, and my career. My career was going great, but I felt like there could be more. So let's get into what the actual daily program is, okay? And then I'll go into how to feel. The outcome is the first thing. You have to know what you want. And that's not actually a challenge for most of us. But for some of us, it might be. We might not actually know what we want, right? And so then that's where you can kind of just go through different aspects in your life. I call this your masterpiece. And this is actually part of the program of the bigger one, but I'm just going to get into it here. Like you can just, screenshot this if you want to. You can just kind of think about like, well, what do I want for mental health or physical body? Pick the one that matters the most to you that you feel like is in the critical path, the thing that's blocking you the most, right? And then come back and you figure out what you want. But importantly here, it's not just what you want, it's why you want it. What does it represent to you? Because that's the outcome that is in the mental reality. That's the significance of it, right? And so once you have that, then you attach to who you need to be. This is the character of the being who we think is deserving of that, right? And you can describe this with adjectives, like characteristics of what that person is like. And so this is really you thinking of you in your highest form. How would you be acting? What are the actions that you take, et cetera, et cetera? And then here's how we get into the really important part, which is how does it feel, right? And so how does it feel is incredibly hard to know if you don't actually have it. How do I know what something that I don't have feels like? And that's what I kept getting asked. And I walked through this one meditation about, feeling how feeling thin would be when I was 275 pounds and I couldn't even like bend down to put my fucking shoes on, right? And so before, I'm not going to like play the meditation for you guys now. That's in the YouTube course that you can scan. But before doing that, this is the whole reason why the asking framework exists. Okay, and the first step of manufacturing a feeling is awareness. And so you have to be aware of the feeling and like how what you want could map to that. And so every time that you do the feeling, it brings up this asking method. And then you just think of the outcome. And so it's the awareness. What is the feeling, right? That's that first step. Then it goes into sensations, and this is like moving out of your head and into your body. Like, what are the sensations that happen in your body that you could physically feel, right? Because there's mental feeling and physical feeling. And then there's knowing. And this is just knowingness that you are capable of doing that. And so between the mental piece of knowing what the feeling is, the physical piece, the sensations, you develop this sense of knowingness. And this is almost like a confidence of deserving, right? And with those three pieces, you can unlock your imagination. And the imagination is the most critical piece here. And in that book, Feeling is the Secret, Neville Goddard probably mentions the word imagination 100 times, if not more. And I should look into that with AI. But he continually talks about imagination, because imagination is the visualization. And this is where you can get really specific and really crazy with the details. And the more that you get into this before you go to bed, the more that you're enriching your subconscious with this feeling so that your dreams can really work on your behalf. And you're going to find that your ego, or whatever it is that you want to refer to it as, doesn't necessarily always feel safe there. And it's going to pull you away, and it's going to change that visualization, and it's going to not feel safe in that capacity. And so when that happens, what you need to do is really just be nurturing to yourself, be nurturing to your imagination, kind of keep coming back to the prompt. So the nurture step here is just knowing that you naturally are going to be pulling away from that because you don't have it yet. So why would your body say you want to feel something that you don't have? Your mind is going to say your body shouldn't feel that. So just be aware of that. And then you generate. And generate is a word that I use in all of this. So every step is bedtime generation, morning generation, because what are we doing? We are generating our reality. And this is a perfect time to start using this word because people are more familiar with it. Because what is AI doing? It's generating. And so human intelligence, artificial intelligence, they're really not that different. All that we're doing, that intelligence does, is it generates. And so we have the ability to generate. We are manifesting generators, right? And so lean into that and just know and trust that you can generate, and you can put your full focus on stuff and you can create it. Now, don't expect that you're going to, say, I want to generate a thin, lean body, and you're going to wake up losing 80 pounds. That's not what this means. But this is getting the identity to get there. And I'll get into that. Now, this is a lot of steps. You say, Dom, is 3 minutes? This fucking feels like this is 10 minutes, and the idea is not that you go through these steps every time. This is just here to help you if you have a hard time coming up with feelings. You also are not going to be journaling every night for the rest of your life. I no longer journal. All of this is not even second nature. This is first nature. And so when you get to a point where you start to become a feeling factory and you can generate feelings, you don't even need to do it just before you go to bed. I do it while I'm on calls. I do it when I'm in conversation. I do it when I'm procrastinating. I use feelings now all the time, and I'm cognizant of A through G of how to drive my growth with my feelings. And I'm changing everything on a regular basis. And one of the quick shortcuts of doing that is the single affirmation that I believe in. And this is a very popular affirmation. It's not like I came up with this one, but I want to make sure that some of my jokes about affirmations and stuff like that don't seem like I'm shitting on people who do affirmations all the time. There's some real power in some affirmations. And this one affirmation, the I am, is essentially the shortcut of this, because what I am is doing, if you can really believe it when you say it, you'll start to feel it. It's running through all of these. It's you are that identity. I am healthy. That in itself is encapsulating all of this, right? And I won't get too deep into like the spiritual background of I am, but there's a lot of power there if people are, interested in that. And so now we know what the daily journal is here and how does it feel. This is what we do at night. We know how to manufacture feelings, right? And we know the shortcut, which is the I am. And so then what we do is in the next morning, before we reach for the phone, before we get distracted, we go into a dream recall. Now, remembering your dreams when you first start doing this is very hard, so don't get discouraged. You might not even remember your dreams for the first 7 days. And there are kind of like certain tricks to doing that, but one of the best things that you can do to remember your dreams is not do something else. So when you first wake up, just kind of start to think about your dreams. And now let's say that you're trying to manifest quitting drinking. I like that one a lot because that was so powerful. It's not necessarily that you're going to dream about alcohol. It could be in there, but keep in mind that your dreams are in a symbolism of what's happening in your subconscious. They're not necessarily literal things that are happening. They could be, but don't expect that it's going to appear in your dream as a manifestation specifically. But it's really important to think about what happened in your dreams and how does it relate, right? Tidal waves and tornadoes and snakes are things that would creep into my dreams all the time when I realized that I was having a hard time getting alcohol out of my life. And that makes a lot of sense. There's a loss of control in those situations, right? Especially swimming in tidal waves with snakes. So then we move into action. And just immediately, this is your daily step of belief, right? And so it's like, I remember my takeaway feeling. I believe it, right? Jim Quick has this great thing where I think he calls it like, you run through the whole day, and then by like in 30 seconds, and you basically just prescribe what's going to happen, and action is a great way to do that. And so if there's one real takeaway here, is that the daily growth map is where feelings meet actions. And so we're taking this feeling that is attached to the what that we want over here, right? And we are then thinking then as to how do we manifest that with the action for today, right? And so now we have our plan, right? And that's a great time to do the I am affirmation. I am the identity who is capable of doing this feeling. Sounds a little silly, especially if you're like some super guy, like whatever, I get it. You can say it in your head, but say it out loud. I say it out loud. There's nothing that's not masculine about it if you're afraid of that. And if you're into meditation, I do transcendental meditation. That's another thing that I talk about in the full program, is like how to actually get into meditation, because it took me 20 fucking years to be able to sit still. And it's now one of the most powerful things in my life. But if you know meditation, this is a great time to do it. And if you don't know meditation and you want something quick, Tony Robbins does this awesome thing called priming. And it's just like 5 minutes. And it's super simple to follow. So it mentions that here. So throughout the day, there are going to be different times where your feelings get out of your control, as they should, as they do. We're human. And we're going to need to reframe those, right? And so this is our whole exercise at the evening of trying to think of, the ideal is you do it on the spot, right? Like we want to correct them as soon as we possibly can. But this is when we go back and we reflect. What was a time that there was something that was antagonistic or a limiting belief that was against my feeling, that told me I couldn't do something? And how am I going to abandon that and challenge that with the truth of what I really am, that I am powerful and that is a limiting belief, right? And then this proof point, there's going to be things that happen throughout the day that are just actually signs of proof. And that these are like little magic moments or golden threads or synchronicities, whatever you want to call them, that just pop up because now your brain is observing things that your feelings, you're going to start to observe more of them because you're going to be filtering for that. And that's the creation, that's the generation, right? And so that's the day in a nutshell. It really should only take 3 minutes. And it takes a lot longer to explain, but that's important. And then, I talk about some things here around how I use this in my career and how I use it for weight loss. But I'm going to go into the specific examples for each of these first, because I think these are more succinct. And before doing that, I just do want to touch on one thing in the full program. So the identity piece here, we talked a little bit about the being, right? And so if this is something that's interesting to you, the identity piece here is really where you can go deeper on that. And this is where you really come up with, what is the challenge that you're facing? And you start to build a character around that. And then all of the limiting beliefs for that, so that you can grant yourself permission. And if you run this program every day, what I call this is a permissionless operating system, right? And so you can see that here is you get the journal, or your printed one if you want the printed one. And then you get all of the courses that go through each and every single one of these. And also, I almost forgot this cool AI that I built. So all of my sessions and programming that I've done, I've put into this chat GPT, and then you can just go from the course and take the prompt and do this, and then it just saves it with your context history if you have the $20 plan. I'm eventually building an app too, so if people want an app, that would be great. And then I go a lot deeper into the ayahuasca experience. I don't promote that for anybody, but I do share my experiences. I think it's a beautiful spirit if people want to do it, but I'm saying I'm not telling people they should do that unless it calls to them, and how that helped me get over drinking paired with the manifestation, and then my form of prayer. And prayer is something that I grew up very allergic to all religion. I still actually am kind of very anti-religious because I think it's something that we don't need in order to get in touch with the universe. And for me, prayer is actually just a way to communicate with the universe. And I really like that definition because we are the universe. And so communicating with the universe is just communicating with ourselves. And why not be in better communication with ourselves, right? So now let me get into the generation for career. So for career, one of the things that I really cared about was getting promoted to director. Many folks who are watching this probably work in tech. And, director is kind of a silly title. Director of what, right? But it's a prestigious role that's hard to reach. And it signifies a lot of things beyond just better compensation. It signifies that you kind of are, in a way, like if you were in the mafia, like a made man. Like it's like we trust your decision making. We know that you operate in a certain way. You have your craft on lock. And so for me, that mattered a lot. And it felt like it was just never fucking happening. And one of the reasons was because I was probably a bit too kind of all over the place. Like I was very creative and whatnot. And so like one of my limiting beliefs all the time was like, I'm not enough of an executive. I'm too creative. I'm not polished enough, right? And so what did I need to be? Well, I needed to continue driving impact for merchants, but I needed to make big ideas simple and smooth and everything just run the way everything was planned and not be so kind of like, oh, and then this, and if this, right? And so how does that feel? Well, that feels like I'm the type of person who, when I give a pitch in a room, everybody understands why I'm giving the pitch. I'm not giving it from a place of, oh, I hope I get approval for this. It's the excitement that we get from this. And usually what I started to do is I started to think about things like, like I can actually like see how the merchants are going to use this, and I can see the reviews coming in, and I can see new people starting businesses and people who normally didn't have the opportunity to start businesses being able to do what they want and spreading entrepreneurship and just tying that and like that really radiating behind my message. And that did start to happen. And some of the proof that I had here, and this didn't all happen in one day, this is an example, is that I did get a promotion during this period. And this was something that I thought had kind of like slipped away from me. So, that is a great example. And so the next one for me is, so career, I mean, we spend so much time before moving on in our career. And I think that we don't intentionally ever think about how our career makes us feel. Now, what I just told you is that you can use feelings to make your career work for you rather than your career working to control your feelings. That's a pretty big change. And that continues to radiate in what I'm doing every day. My career has always been good. I love the people I work with. I love what I'm working on. But there were times when I thought, God, this is a slog. This is draining. This is everything. Work is still hard, but it is so much more fun. So much more fun now that I operate this way. So if that's the one thing you take away from this, if you're career oriented and ambitious, is that you can use feelings to drive your career. The next one is for quitting drinking. This is probably not relevant to everybody. It's super relevant to me. It's embarrassing to say, but I was a pretty much a daily drinker, and it never really got in the way of work. But I can imagine that I would have been so much more successful. I would have saved so much more money. I would have had so many less embarrassing moments in my personal life if I had not drinking. I would have kept relationships, or I would have had relationships end on my terms rather than ending for me because of my drinking behavior. And so it took me nearly 25 years of drinking to get to a point where I had had enough. And what I did here, one of the things was that I really wanted, one of the reasons why I kept drinking was because I felt it was so social. I I can't have fun without drinking, you know? And there's this great video by Alex Becker. I'll paste it in somewhere. I'll attach it because I did a little snip of it where he is like the myth of fun from alcohol. And that was actually one of the things that helped me get to this point. It's like, what is the outcome you want? Well, actually, like I wanted to have fun dates. And I felt like I could never do that if I wasn't drinking, you know, because my limiting belief over here was I'm only funny if I drink, right? And so who do I need to be? Well, I need to be an engaged listener. I need to be less serious. I need to have more fun, you know, like things like this. I thought that like, you know, this take the edge off thing was what would happen. And how does that feel? Well, like then I think like, well, you know, dates don't have to just happen in bars at night. We can be outside, we can be laughing, we can be in nature, there can be animals, you know, like there's all of these things that I could just be comfortable being myself. And it was this, you know, this feeling. And one of the actions, I would have all these different actions related to what I needed to get over for drinking, just to prove to myself. And one of the things was there's this cool kombucha bar in Colorado Springs called Gratitude. When I was drinking, I'm never going to a place called Gratitude to drink kombucha. Are you kidding me? I was like, well, fuck it. You know, I'm going to go. Why not? Right. And just have random banter with people. Nothing about dating, nothing about romantic relationships or anything in that capacity. Just go prove that I can smile and laugh with other people without alcohol in my system. Turns out it's true, right? You know, like had a bunch of laughs with strangers sober, right? Pretty cool. So this could be applied to kind of, you know, quitting anything here, right? So the generation for eating the right nutrition. This is a big one for me too. I fucking love cheese. I love bread. I love pizza. I love sugar. I say I love, like I've really gotten over all that stuff now, but like my diet was, every time I ordered DoorDash, they would deliver like 6 sets of the takeout spoons and things like that, because they probably thought there was an entire like small army or family that they were feeding, but it was just me, because I wanted to try everything, right? And so what I wanted was to be fit and have good biomarkers. I had terrible blood pressure. I mean, like it was to the point where they told me I should go to the hospital one time. And I refused to do it because, well, it was more fun to stay home and drink and smoke cigarettes. And then I, you know, was on my way to getting A1Cs up to the pre-diabetic level, et cetera, you know? And so like, who do I need to be? Well, like really I need to be a discerning consumer. I need to like change what the fuck I'm putting in my mouth. And it sounds really simple, easy to come up with like that action step, really hard to just will my way and have motivation to do it. So how does it feel? Well, like, let's like think about it, man. Like I can enjoy small bites. Food actually tastes good. I don't need all that volume, you know? I can get fuller faster, and I can feel clean foods and how good I feel after eating clean foods, right? So I just went through this framework, and this was hard. This didn't happen overnight. A lot of like limiting beliefs are like, oh, I need dessert as a reward, right? Like, oh, well, like I definitely need extra cheese on everything I do. And then it's like, you know, proof points like, damn, just melon is delicious and it's pretty low calorie. Good, you know, right there, right? And so like the actions are mapping calories around protein. Now, from a willpower and motivation perspective, if you were to tell me, like when I first started working with a coach and I started tracking food, if you were to tell me that I would actually try, I remember thinking, there's no way I'm keeping this up. Like there's no willpower or motivation. But because I started feeling the attachment to what it was going to be like to not have health issues and to be healthy and to be clean, eating wise, and being able to build an identity around liking good food, the calorie piece around macros and protein actually became fun. And I don't use MyFitnessPal now because it's just all like in my brain. But when I look at food, I actually think about, oh, well, like my body needs this much calories from protein. And like, that looks like a pretty good, healthy amount of protein. And like, that's going to give me more energy. And so like my identity has actually really changed around what I put in my body. And now it's just, I never really think about it. Like, yeah, sometimes I still have, like, I don't see any sugar in the house, but like, I still like love a dessert every now and again, but it's crazy. And in such a short period of time that changed. And it's all through feelings. For working out, very similar thing. I won't spend as much time here. Obviously, like strong, fit, lean body, clear, like what you want. Who do you need to be? This is a big thing to me, is because it's not just like working out and like breaking a sweat and doing cardio. It's like I actually had to get into lifting weights, which is something I didn't like to do, because I really believe that time under tension would make it so that I didn't lose a bunch of muscle while I was losing fat. That was one of my biggest fears, was looking like a bobblehead, because my girlfriend at the time told me that when I lost weight, I looked like a bobblehead. And so I had this picture. That was the fucking identity that I was afraid of, was bobblehead Dom. And so, I was like, well, I have to lift weights, but I hated lifting weights. I've never liked lifting weights, even though I played football in high school. And, I do the gym, I've always felt out of place. Like other dudes are stronger than me. And, like that was like, I don't have the right frame. And so like, that was like a limiting belief here. And so then I had to, I had to trick my way into it. I had to feel this euphoric sweat from like this, it hurts so good. Like that feeling after you lift weights. And it's just like, I feel this. And like, this is where the meditation I was talking about earlier, it's like when I lean down, I can easily put my shoes on. I don't have my stomach get in the way. I can feel that, right? I can feel how snug my like belt is when I'm actually snug in a good way, when I'm putting it on, and I don't have this like pain because the elastic band is digging into my fat fucking stomach, And so that all happened. Proof points are like, like you start seeing like, veins in your arm and everything. You're like, wow, like I'm actually losing fat, So it happens. And now working out and time under tension is just so regular for me. Like I can't imagine not having, and it doesn't even have to be lifting weights, just like slow air squatting, slow push-ups, just things that are good for my muscles. My identity is that of somebody who cares about my muscles. Dating with intention. I used to date just because, really just external validation to make myself feel better. Like if a woman was hot and she liked me, that must mean that I'm cool and that I'm great. I hate that I thought that way, but I'm going to admit it, because there's no reason to beat around the bush here. And what you end up doing then is you end up dating a bunch of people who also don't feel necessarily great about themselves. And then that becomes like a negatively reinforcing loop. And so what I really wanted to start doing was realize that I wanted somebody in my life who, not like somebody or people in my life, because I'm not necessarily like super into having like one person at this point until like I find that person. But it's just like I wanted to surround myself with people who had a new way of thinking, who had more emotional connection and support. And so who do I need to be? Well, I need to be supportive of them, and I need to be self-sufficient. I need to be whole. And this has been like the hardest piece for me, is I am not who I am dating, right? Like that's a bad attachment loop. And so being okay on my own is the being. How does that feel? Well, it's like I need to support independence of that person. I have this notion of being able to like hang on every sentence and like have these great communications, and there's just more than sex, and totally not worried about not spending time together because I'm not worried about them cheating, or like all of these things that I remember how the negativity used to feel, and just surrounding that with positivity around how it does feel. And so sometimes with feelings, not to dwell too much on the negative, but you can use the negative as a way to do the polar opposite, right? And Neville Goddard talks a lot about that, is like taking that negative and swapping that out. And so like the actions are just go smile and start authentic conversations. It doesn't even have to be for dating, right? It's just getting used to talking to people and having and getting a bigger connection on something that's less surface level than looks. Because clearly at 275 pounds, I didn't look that great either. And there's all these limiting beliefs, like women don't really want to talk to me, right? That I had to go and like reframe. And then there's just proof points where it's just like I have great conversations, and I learn the characteristics of what I like. It doesn't have to be me asking them out on a date. It doesn't have to be anything romantic. It's actually better if it isn't. It's just me learning what is there and what I like. And that's now part of my identity. And then for family relationships, the last piece here is no more fighting with mom. My mom and I have a very tight relationship, single parent upbringing, only child. We've been kind of like at war together. Lots of love, but also lots of tension, lots of resentment, because it feels like nothing's ever enough for her. And so there's like, I used to say, like, if there's one person that I fly off the handle at, it's my mom. And how terrible to fly off the handle and yell at your mom, right? I mean, it happened to me too, but that doesn't mean I have to rebut in that way. Very Canadian, reboot in that way. So who do I need to be? Well, I need to be calm. I need to be patient. I need to be non-reactive. It's pretty hard. And how does it feel? So it's like, I had this therapist one time who told me to just imagine, here comes the I word, as in the asking framework, that when she does this stuff, when she flies off the handle or whatever, that I just need to imagine that she's a cartoon character and that I'm just watching a cartoon. And in that capacity, I'm just stable and steady. And so my action that I put into place over months was setting boundaries and allowing for the tension as I set boundaries. No, mom, I can't see you today, because it will never be enough, but just like setting the boundaries, or like, here's how I feel and this and that. And then dealing with the reaction. I knew it was coming. But after doing that enough times, the limiting belief of she'll never change, that nothing's ever enough for that woman, is gone. She starts using the word boundaries. People are amazing. The human mind is unbelievable. So these are my examples, and I'd love to hear other people's examples. I have so many more examples, but these are like the broad strokes without going into all my almost full year of doing this. I have gone through this program now on my own, not like through this journal. I've done it through the printed journal, which is so cool. Now 2 times, and I've actually done it like in the gym, and it's just awesome that like this is now physically manifested, right? But I've gone through these paper versions of this as I've been doing it and tweaking it and modifying it, probably at least over 150 days. And it started with just me drawing little boxes and drawing them for like 7 days and just doing it again and again, kind of a madman with it. But I really believe in it, clearly. And I'm so excited that other people are jumping in, and I'm so excited to help. I'm really pumped about this AI piece. And so for folks who join the Real program, one of the things I want to do is work directly with people to see how we can go from this GPT based thing into an actual app. And because I think that having an app for actually using AI to help people build and become feeling factories is really, really impactful. Okay, so that's it. Please join the challenge. I'm going to put some links for a community to post in, and but Dom at dailygrowthmap.com is the email, and I'm always open to get an email. See you all soon.